Alright, what is up traders? Hope everybody's doing well. Today going over a win taken that resulted in about 117 handles. Today's price action was garbage. It wasn't the easiest for sure, but I managed to pull out this win. As you can see here on Discord, over 115 handles today. And then going over my bias, so at the time, because we had this big push up, there really wasn't much to trade or look at other than this sell side right here initially to target. So looking at this chart, there's nothing to target other than sell side liquidity lower, right? So that was the only target that I had, but that got swept before market or before my macro, right? So market opened here and it just dumped and then took out that sell side that I was looking at before my macro even hit. So that made me have to look for something else if presents, and I was leaning with giving price more time to generate more liquidity simply because we had a very big move overnight, right? We opened a gap higher. My bias or my weekly forecast, if you go back, I wanted to see this buy side swept. This has been my target for weeks now, for 2 or 3 weeks. This was swept upon the new week open, right? Basically pretty much instantly. And then we just continued higher. Falling short of this buy side, we do sweep it. And then by the time we come, as we saw that picture, that screenshot that I have on my Discord, I want to see this sell side as the only target, logical target for me, because the next buy side was too high, right? It was, for me, it was illogical to target that in the same day that we've had this. So in one day to have all this, it was illogical. So I was more bearish. That's why I was more bearish to try to target that sell side. And once that got swept before my macro, I said, all right, I'm gonna wait for market to generate more liquidity. Had to wait 2 macros. So this trade was taking in the third macro, which is the 1150 1210, and towards the end of it as well. So the reasoning behind it was, we come down, we take out this sell side, we come down one more time, right? We take out more sell side as well as this, and we dig deep into that inefficiency, right? Now, at that time, we have now resting buy side in terms of a triple top on NQ, and on ES, we had all of this. Okay, so that for me now is very obvious liquidity, and then potentially this buy side sweep here, right, for price to make a new high, because you have also triple highs right here, so it's, or actually quadruple highs, right? So that is also possible for price to sweep. So what happened was, I waited for the final or the third macro, which is 1150 1210, and I noticed an SMT with ES, right? ES making a new low, NQ failing to do so. And then you have all this buy side, and then all this, with the 930 fair value gap aligning perfectly with these buy sides. Let me pull up ES. Okay, so this SMT entry was at around here, I believe it was here, not that retracement, it was here. So still within macro, right, not after. Reasoning behind it was, after this SMT happened, we had a push up, break of structure here. I was looking at this to be broken, not on any of these, because this to me was, this was the highest high after or before this sweep lower that swept these. So I was looking at this as a potential break of structure for me to see this entry as valid, right? I didn't want to enter off of this small one right here. I was looking at this mainly because we can see we're in a rangy price action area, so I want to see more confirmation before entering. And my bias is already longs, so I'm just looking for a reason to enter longs, right? Because this is very obvious buy side right here, and this as well. So what happens is we break this structure. I don't really look for a deep retracement simply because this stop loss anyway for me is pretty small. Like, what am I gonna look for? Something like this. So I'm not gonna wait, to be honest, for that very perfect entry. Price action already is very rangy and not the cleanest today. So on a small retracement like this, treating this as a breaker, this whole thing, and just entering right there, and then my stop loss went below midpoint of this wick, which is an order block. So this is an order block, this whole thing, and then my stop loss went below midpoint of this, right? This was kind of my stop loss. So entry was there, and then this is just me during the trade marking out that this is an order block. I want to see respected, and initially I was going to take some, I was in 5 contracts, I was going to take some partials here and then leave the rest to run here to this high. But I have this thing where I sometimes trail my exit, so I'm in longs, so I have I think it's called a sell stop, and I just trail to catch as much as I can from that move. So instead of putting a sell limit here, once we reach this, I'll just start to trail that partial higher and higher, and that got me all the way up to here, right? Once we got here, I'm very confident that we're going to sweep this, but once we got here, we had an SMT with ES, right? So this is this high. ES swept that high. So that's why I was like, all right, we may have a heavy retracement from here. If I'm trailing my stop loss, let's say that this low here, price may come down, stop me out, and then continue up higher. I was still confident that we're going to sweep that, but since we had this and there was kind of laggy price action here, I said, you know what, I'm good, I'm content, I'm just going to cash out fully. So this is where I cashed out fully, around here, because of this SMT and because I was just content, right? But if you go to my Discord, actually it was in the VIP chat, so I cashed out fully, right? So it was 18:16 my time, so to be exact it was 18:16. So if you go here, 16, so it was this candle where I cashed out, this one, right? This is where I cashed out. And if you go to my Discord, you'll see where still confident that it will sweep that buy side liquidity higher, right? So it may have a drop before continuing higher to sweep that buy side, still confident that it will sweep that buy side. So that is exactly what happened. We had a small drop into the 930 value gap, which is very nice, right? Coincidence? Of course not. We swept all this trailing sell side, tap into this, and then we continued higher into this buy side, making that new high, right? So I knew it was going to happen, but I was just not really willing to put the risk and just leave my stop loss in some profit and miss out, because at this point I was like up about $1,200 and my full TP was $2,000, so I was just fine with taking profits there. So yeah, that's going to be it. Not the easiest price action at all, and that is to be expected when we have these big moves pre New York Open. You want to give the market time to generate more liquidity, which it did, but my target initially got swept before even my time to enter, before my macro. So this got swept 9:36 and my macro starts 9:45. So let's say it hadn't been swept, let's say this was 9:45 right here, and I would have for sure tried to target the sell side, and that would have been it, and I'm done. But that got swept before my macro, so I had to wait out for more liquidity to be generated for me to look to enter something, and that's exactly what happened after 9:45, which is this. So after the first macro, we had all this buy side liquidity generated, and then all this generated during the second AM macro, and during the third, I was able to catch this, right? So that's going to be it. I hope you guys found this insightful. If you want more pre and post session analysis just like this, join my free Discord. Link is in the description. I do post my analysis on NASDAQ for free every single day, pre-session on Discord, my free Discord. So join that. Also, I do have my one-on-one mentorship. So if you're interested in that, link for the Calendly to book your call with me is in the description down below. And yeah, so that's going to be it. Until next time, guys, stay safe and happy trading.